What's up, guys? Welcome to Rogue Reviews. My name is Nolan. We have Evan on the other line here. We're doing another one of our long distance videos here, and this is going to be our full, uncut, just live to tape, discussion of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Spoiler filled. If you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing here? Go out and watch it. Though it seems like I think everybody has seen it because it's made like $220 million opening weekend. So if you haven't seen it, you're one of the last on Earth. So,
is that the second largest opening?
Yeah, it's right behind The Force Awakens. Force Awakens made 248, and I wasn't surprised this one made a little less, just because The Force Awakens was just like the hype of 10 years.
Well, right, it was the next big one.
Yeah, and before we get started, I wanted to just read this thing, because this movie is getting very hotly debated online. And me and Evan both liked it. I liked it more than Evan. But IGN put out a great thing, and I really like this. It says, in the end, everyone is free to walk away from The Last Jedi or any work of art, hating it, loving it, or not caring about it one way or another. But we must also remember that a filmmaker like Rian Johnson is free to make the movie that he wants to make, that he isn't obligated to give you or me or anyone else the movie we think we want or that we built up in our heads over the years. So I feel like that's just a good thing to remember going into this, because I feel like a lot of some of the arguments online have been kind of about that, but because this is a different movie franchise than most other franchises out there, because even with the superhero franchises and everything, you have story to go off of. You have these other source materials that they're going to follow a little bit, but this is just a totally different ball game where you don't know where it's going to go. So but Evan, you've seen it once?
Yeah, just once.
Okay. How did it hit you coming out of the theater? Let's just start with our kind of overall reactions.
The initial thought was the last half kind of saved it for me. I thought the first half was a little odd and didn't quite know what it was doing at first. It kind of just continued where it left off because it had to, obviously, and after that, I don't know, it was just really weird. It was very foreign to me, which I think is the big theme, I guess, with what I felt with this movie was it did feel very foreign, and it's like the argument is that it's different. It's yeah, that's okay. I guess they're just different decisions that made it very awkward. There are decisions that made it really cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed the last half. There were a few things that were kind of odd. I felt like some things were kept. It's like some things were done in the storyline to allow for something else to happen in the storyline, and it wasn't quite as believable, I guess, and it wasn't sold yet. And I don't know, it's really tricky, this movie, and it's I don't know, because it's not like something crazy, a cult movie or something, where it's the director was going for something artistic. It's not like that. It's it's just so radical, so okay. Okay. I don't know. It was kind of I don't know. It's like that weird family member at the dinner table that cracks a joke or something, or you thought they were cool when you were younger, and then you get older and you're kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of made you do a double take. Like a weird joke that a friend says, or something like that. I don't know. It's how I felt sometimes with some of the dialogue and what happened and how these characters that we've, grown to love, whether Rian Johnson likes it or not, came to pass. And yeah.
Okay. I've had the benefit of seeing this movie. I've seen it 3 times now, which is definitely a movie that I think requires multiple viewings, just because there's so much going on. But like my first reactions were, it, like you said, it was different. It felt foreign, but for me, it still felt like Star Wars. It just was Star Wars taking in a bold new direction that I really dug. I really like Rian Johnson as a filmmaker and a writer. I adore Looper so much. That movie is just one of my favorites. And I really like the risks he took. I think this is a bold movie, and I gave it a 10 in our non-spoiler review, which is up on the channel now. It was more like, you know how like Interstellar is very ambitious? I felt like this movie was like the most ambitious Star Wars movie ever made. Like, in the fact, like, you have the longest like runtime of any of the Star Wars movies. You pack so much story into basically like a survival movie that doesn't take that much time in the actual universe, which I thought was like, that was a bold decision, especially because it felt like this movie felt like the most pure Star Wars Western to me. Like, it felt like a Star Wars High Noon, where like, you know, the bad guys are coming, you need to like get your stuff together, otherwise you know, it's going to be that inevitable showdown at the end. So I really dug that. I really liked the character progressions of like most of the characters that we saw in The Force Awakens. I have some nitpicks here and there, but overall I just loved where this movie took everything and what it set up in the end. So that was kind of where I was leaning with it right out from the gate, and like multiple viewings have kind of confirmed that for me. So, but
okay, well, let's go down the line. I think, like we should with this movie, is just go scene by scene. So I think it starts with the space battle with
it starts
Poe and
it starts with the Resistance leaving the planet Takar, which is where their base was at the end of Force Awakens, and right away, I don't know how the humor, I was not expecting it at first. So this movie, I think that was something where the humor hit for me, because like, especially at that like 5-minute phone call prank like Poe's doing in the beginning, I was like, okay, they're going for this. Like, Empire's a funny movie and you really watch it, but I was not expecting that right out of the gate. So I think the first viewing of it, it really surprised me. How did that hit you?
I didn't like it.
Okay.
The opening was probably the worst scene for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just really odd. Like, the whole answering machine. Oh, wait, can you hear me now? Good. Can you hear me now? And then Hux is just like this whiny baby that, I was hoping, you know, we'd get a little more out of him, which it's so funny because everyone hates on Force Awakens. It's like, I don't know, I just got a little more out of it, because I know with Hux, he kind of had a little bit of a character dilemma when he came to, you know, trying to prove himself, you know, in The Force Awakens, and in this movie he's just a sniveling brat, and you don't see any progression whatsoever going into that first scene. And then you have the jokes, which, dude, like, comedy is okay, like totally okay with comedy. It was a little weird.
Okay.
Looking back on it, it's like, it's not the end of the world, but it was very like, okay, we're cracking jokes right now. Yeah. All right, cool. And then like that whole thing happened while we're supposed to be like really feeling for Rose's sister, and I don't know. It was just it was really confusing to me. Like, not like I'm like, what's going on? I mean, tonally, it was just like, okay, this is odd. That was like, I really felt weird, that first scene, that first opening scene. And then when Leia, you know, forced herself, I don't know what you want to call it, because she didn't fly. Well, she didn't do it. It's like, okay,
we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, because we got the island to go to next, but.
Is that? Yeah, I thought that was all one scene.
No, they do the jump and then a little bit.
I'm missing scenes.
Yeah,
which I guess I don't know. It's funny because a lot of people are talking about the plot being all over the place too. So
you see, the plot for me is just like, it's a simple plot. It's more, this movie's more about like testing the characters individually where the plot's it's a very simple, just survival movie. It's like I said, it's like that high noon, you know, the bad guys are chasing you and you just gotta outrun them, which, you know, that's another like bold decision to do in a Star Wars movie. We've never seen that before. You know, usually a lot of time passes in these movies. You know, I think The Force Awakens is probably the one that like the least amount of time passes, or maybe Return of the Jedi. But yeah, I can understand where you're coming with, Hux. And this is, I don't want to be that guy that's like, well, if you read the books, but, you know, I have read the books, so I'm just going to give my input on it. Because in the books, you find out Hux is he is a brat. Like, his father was, like, one of the last Imperials that, like, made it out alive. He wasn't a well-respected Imperial. He's kind of just, like, a fat old slob. And Hux kind of got put into power because his dad. So, that kind of... His character arc in this movie kind of made more sense for me, because it's like, yeah, he's a bumbling idiot that just got there because his dad was, you know, one of the last Imperials left, you know?
Does that count for the average consumer, though?
No, it doesn't. I kind of liked Hux in this movie just because he was playing into more of his, like, Force Awakens crazy speech person. Like, he was just more of that, like, kind of regal, like, you know, bad guy. I would be remiss if we didn't leave this opening scene without talking about the other First Order officer that was commanding the Dreadnought. That guy was fantastic. I think his name was Captain Kennedy. He just was like, I was like, that's a first officer or First Order officer, you know? And that also played into Hux's thing, because, like, you know, that officer was like, we should have launched the TIE fighters 5 minutes ago, you know? You know, he was like second guessing Hux. So, but yeah, like the Roge's sister Paige, that stuff was beautifully shot. I know some of our friends we know are arguing like, oh, bombers, you know, can't drop gravity in, you know, space. I'm like, as soon as you start like arguing Star Wars physics, you just lost what Star Wars is, because it's like it's never been at that, you know. But I like the opening battle overall. I think it was it sucked me in right away, because I thought we were gonna go open on the island, which is where we go next. You know, Finn wakes up, you know, asks Poe, "Where's Rey?" And then we get the follow-up scene to The Force Awakens, which we were all, you know, expecting, you know, something grand to come out of Luke Skywalker's mouth, and this is where Rian Johnson's like, you know what, I'm gonna do something unexpected here, and he throws the lightsaber over, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going here. What did you think of that moment?
It's terrible, obviously, but I don't know. I can't be like, oh yeah, Rian Johnson, whatever he says goes. It's like that wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't okay. And even if that did happen, I needed to see more of this extremely learned Luke Skywalker instead of like, I've already given up Luke Skywalker. And I don't like. I don't know. It doesn't add weight to me to think like, well, you got to realize like Luke's been through a lot and da-da-da. It's like, okay, that's great, but we didn't see him go through all that. You know, we see like random explanations here and there and what happened with Ben, but now you're talking about, you know, Luke's figured it all out. And I think just the whole island scenes in general, there just needed to be more of it. And to start with Luke, you know, being like that is fine. I can totally see like, no, I'm not going to train you. But it came off very kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It just didn't come off like the Luke that, you know, we knew and hoped for. And it's not like, you know, well, you understand, it's not that I needed Luke to be the same. Obviously he's not, but I wanted to be something more than, you know, a shriveled old man who doesn't want to do anything about it. I understand he's damaged, but I guess simply there wasn't enough of him, story, turmoil. You know, it's like everything hinges on what he did to Ben, and like I get that, but I don't know. And then it's like the argument of, well, it's different. It's like, okay, I get that, but it doesn't mean it was good. Okay, wow, he threw the lightsaber over. Like, I would have never expected that. Does that mean it was a good choice? No, I don't know. I
don't know if it was a good choice. Like, I think you could have had just as much. Like, I like that stuff. But I think like if he had just dropped it and walked it away, you know, it like a lot of the stuff we're talking about, it comes down to like execution. I think like where they were trying to go with it, like, you know, like when we get to the flying legacy, and I think the intent was right.
I'll agree with that. I think a lot of it was execution.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the lightsaber. I like seeing Luke as a broken man. I think it for me it does add more weight, because I don't know. It just you think about what he says, and like, you know, later in the movie he, you know, references the prequels, which I thought was amazing, and just like, you know, I can see where he's coming from in his frame of mind. It's like, you know, I thought I would, you know, avoid the same mistakes that Ben Kenobi made. The same thing happened to me. This is stupid. This needs to end. You know, I can see where he's coming from in those moments where he's just like, no. And, you know, also, you know, later when he's training Rey on the rock, you know, it's like, to say that the, you know, Jedi have like the monopoly on the Force is stupid. You know, it's everywhere. You know, the Jedi shouldn't be the focus of this. So I can see where he's coming from a little more, I think. But I get your point of like that's like the biggest thing in this movie is the handling of Luke. And that's going to be the thing that, you know, either makes or breaks this movie for you, I think. And if you like where Rian Johnson took the character or not, because for me, I think he pushed the right buttons with Luke, and it gave me a story that in the end felt very satisfying for me. But like with you, you know, everything, you know, will hit people different in this film. So
right. I mean, it's a lot to kind of just like crap on everything we knew for the sake of crapping on everything we knew. To get a different Luke.
I don't think it's crapping on everything we knew. I think like Luke was a very different Jedi to begin with. You know, he threw the lightsaber away, you know, and in the end of this movie, like, you know, that Luke comes back, but I don't think it's crapping on it with like the arc that they set up for him in this movie. I think it's well deserved, because I mean, like, you know, in The Force Awakens he ran away, like, you know, Luke's not there, and that's a decision. And I mean, it's also I know a conscious decision they made in The Force Awakens to not have him in there. I remember Michael Arndt, who was the original screenwriter for The Force Awakens, he got fired, I think, when George Lucas was let go as well. From the development process, they said whenever you brought Luke in, he just took the story over. And I think that was another it's kind of like the Superman problem. You have this guy that is all powerful and can be like the, you know, the Superman of the Star Wars universe, and like, what do you do with that character? And, you know, to have him be shut off from the Force and have him be like isolated, I think was where they needed to go. Otherwise, it's just like, you know, like Luke says, it's like, what do you think? I'm going to go out in front of the First Order with my laser sword and like they're all going to, you know, die in front of me? You know, he can't do that. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have to, but yeah. You can't forsake everything though. I mean, the original trilogy just had so much, you know, so much was built on that, and so much. It's not like the story either. It's characters. It's the emotion that, you know, what Luke went through in Return of the Jedi, and that kind of Jedi that we saw in that, and then going into Force Awakens. I understand the seclusion, but it's just a really big jump to go from, you know, the Luke that we knew, and then going into, you know, The Force Awakens with it. And it kind of, I feel like it screws Rey over, because now it's like, now she's completely on her own.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have Force Ghost Luke.
Well, right. I don't mean in the sense of like plot. I mean like she didn't learn anything from him, and she's still kind of on the gravy train when it comes to knowing how to do everything, and you know, being all powerful, which is okay. It's just, I don't know. I wish there was more time, or there should have been more focus on that. Whether, you know, that's a problem with Force Awakens keeping him out of it. If anything, it would have been cool to have Rey be the next step, which they're kind of making her that way anyway, being, you know, this prodigy with the Force. Have her be better than Luke, you know, but have that like come to fruition, not out of just because it is, you know. And I think that's what we wanted in this, was just way more like just straight up Jedi stuff, man. And we didn't get any of it. Like, we got maybe a few minutes of Force talk, but Rey didn't really learn anything. She's none the wiser when it comes to it.
Well, I disagree there. I think she is. I think she learns a lot on that island. I think Luke being that way teaches her a lot. I think what she finds out is like, and you also gotta like, that whole thing sets up her arc with the, you know, see people calling online like the Skype back and forth with her and Kylo. Like, Luke's coldness, she starts turning to Kylo. Like, if Luke wasn't that way, and if Luke was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll teach you all this stuff, like, then she wouldn't go to Kylo, and we wouldn't get what I think is like the best part of the movie, is the Rey and Kylo dynamic, because I was just enamored with that every time they were on screen together. You know, that stuff I thought was just really like the meat of this movie. And I think Luke was in the background because of that. I think that Luke in this movie served more to push the story forward. And Mark Hamill even says, like, in interviews, he's like, it's not my story anymore. Like, we saw Luke's hero's journey in the original trilogy. He doesn't need a hero's journey in this one. We know where he is, and we know, like, where he's coming from, and we know he's a broken man now. But in, like, the end of this movie, you know, he becomes that Jedi again. So I don't know. That's my, like, what did you start thinking of, like, the Rey? Well, actually, let's get to, we go from the island to your flying Leia thing, which is I think is going to be one of the more hotly debated scenes in the theaters this year, because that was interesting.
I don't even have any comment on it, really. It serves story is all it did. I mean, they couldn't kill her. And then why blow up the cockpit? To show that she could use the Force, I guess. But
yeah,
we already knew that she could do that in the first place when she talked to Luke.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was very odd, and maybe it served as to get her in a coma. To you know, have Poe do his whole rambunctious thing with Waldo or Haldo or whatever. What's her name?
Holdo.
Holdo.
Yeah.
Holdor.
Hold the door.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just weird. I don't even know what to say about it. It just is what it is.
I think it's another one of those examples of, like, the intent was good, the execution you can argue about. You know, you wanted to see that she was really powerful, which you do, because it's like, yeah, if Anakin can keep himself alive with, like, you know, one limb and burned by lava, you know, Leia can, you know, his daughter can, like, float through space for 2 seconds. But I don't know. I like the shot of her getting sucked out, like, that, like, made my heart stop for a minute. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gonna kill her off. Like, I think just, like, that factor of, like, that being unexpected, you know. And I really like that Kylo wasn't the one that did it, but, like, you know, the two pilots beside him, it's like, well, this is our job, you know, bombs away.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
it was just more turmoil. Yeah. I think they should have killed her, though. I mean, obviously what happened was they filmed it, didn't expect her to die.
Oh, and,
like, now everything kind of was reliant on that. It would have been flawless if Leia stayed behind instead of Holdo. And then to have that be like,
that would have been cool. That would have been really cool.
But they already filmed it.
Yeah.
You know? And so that would have been good. But anyway.
I think,
yeah.
you know, and I think, like, if they had known what was going to happen to Carrie Fisher, maybe, you know, Luke doesn't go out at the end of this. You know, I definitely think we're going to get more Ghost Luke in 9 because of what happened to Carrie Fisher than we would have gotten originally. But, you know, we shall see. So, and then we go back to the island. What'd you think of the whole Ben Solo Rey dynamic in this film?
So I'm not opposed to what happened. the explanation for it was okay, cool, whatever. Like Snoke putting them together to prove a point or something. Like that was just okay.
Well, I mean, they're connected at the end though too. Like they still do it without Snoke. So I'm like thinking like, all right, is that not like?
I get that, but I mean, it's like I don't know. I'm not against it. Mm-hmm. I think I'm not opposed to that.
Okay.
It adds to the confliction. I understand that. It got a little too hokey for me, just a little bit, but outside of that, it was okay. I think she got a little too soft, too fast with him, but that's just my take on it. And that whole try and push and pull with him, with her, I think could have lasted a little longer. It's probably not the end of what that's going to be, obviously, but it was just quick. It was like, oh hey, but you shouldn't do this, and then like the whole throne room thing happened, and it's like, oh, never mind. But I'm not against it. I think the whole communication thing with them was okay. Yeah. It got a little weird because it got too casual. Like, oh, you again, like I don't know. It wasn't. They could have made it better. They could have had her be like, not just like randomly doing things, but actually like trying to meditate and like, having Kylo them go through more like emotional stress than like randomly being like, oh, you're here again, and talking to him, and and I don't know. It's funny. Jeremy Johns brought it up where her tone totally changed when she saw him without his shirt on.
Yeah, I like how it's random. I thought that added more to it. Like she's like, can we not do this? And he's like, I don't want to do it either. Like it was more of like an inconvenience for him, which I thought
that's part of it. Yeah. See, that's part of it. That's like, no, bad. Like, don't, I don't know, that it's those little things like that, like the Poe joke and like those kind of things. And I think Stuckman, was it Stuckman? No, I think it was Johns, where he was like, they're adding 2017 jokes in, and it's just, I don't know, it feels foreign just simply because of that, where it's Star Wars and we're throwing in modern jokes or something like that. So I don't know. It made it too like, I don't know, not timeless, if that makes sense.
Well, I can see that, and I see. There is a strong contingent of people that the original trilogy is like this holy thing that can never be touched and, is flawless. And, I don't believe that. I like the prequels, I like it all. Not because I like to find like the good in thing, like Ben Kenobi says, and there's one podcast I listen to, like everything in Star Wars is good from a certain point of view. Like I like to look at those things and like, all right, where was this, trying to go, and where this was going wrong. But like with like the 2017 humor, I can totally see that. But also like Star Wars needs to evolve. If we're gonna have a movie every single year, and it's just the same stuff and like the same type of humor over and over again, that's going to get old fast. And like the future generations is just going to go like, because that's the thing, like these movies aren't made for, us. They're made for 12-year-olds. Like that's like, I feel like a lot of people lose sight of that. But this one was a little different. I think it was Anthony Bresnikan of like EW, or like he said that, most of the Star Wars movies are about like growing up, and this is the first one that shows about like growing old as well, which I thought was kind of insightful. But like I get the humor. The back to like the Rey like Kylo exchange, that stuff was like the strongest part of the movie for me. I felt like that really worked, and I felt like it was kind of natural. I feel like it's Rey's character to be really naive, and I feel like that's like her weakness. Like everybody says, oh, she's a Mary Sue, she doesn't have a weakness. I'm like, no, she's really like young and naive and just is far too trusting way too quick, which I think that's where you had a problem with it, where I felt like it totally fit the character to just start like believing what Kylo said. I really liked the flashback scenes. I thought, talk about making our own movie in the head, you know, I thought we were going to get this like epic duel between Kylo and Luke, you know, when he was like burning his temple down, you know, and Kylo had already turned. But I really liked how it ended up just being like Luke, you know, going in, seeing the darkness, you know, and for a split second, like thinking, I'll end this. And then he's like, no, I can't. And then that just has all the consequences in the world. Like, I like how it was like a smaller moment than what I thought it would be, was what set Kylo off. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but
I mean, I could have used more for sure. Just more of everything.
That's the thing about this movie. It packs a lot of story in where you could, like, I could totally watch a 3-hour cut of this, you know. Like, I'm sure they had to, you know, do a little things, you know, cut some stuff for time. But, you know, I know what you're saying. Like, it's the most story-heavy Star Wars movie, but you just, like, want more of, like, little things, you know. I don't know.
Right. I just think its focus was, it should have been on Rey and Luke and Kylo, and I would have built Snoke up throughout the entire film and then have the ending be what Kylo does, and then have most of that time to, you know, deal with Luke and all of that, and just add a little more weight to it than I mean, I understand the whole thing with the rebels and what they have to do, and the resistance and all that, but I don't know, it was just interesting decisions. And it's kind of funny, I saw one person say you could skip Force Awakens and go straight to episode 9 because rebels are back where they started. And really nothing changes.
It kind of is true. I like how this movie had like a definitive ending. Like, JJ's really good at like almost making his movies like a TV show. Like, you know, he'll leave certain strands unanswered, and this one had like, all right, this is where this storyline ends. This is because I think what ultimately what this movie does is it sets up Luke or Rey and Kylo for just huge things in 9. And I mean, I guess we can, while we're on the subject of Rey and Kylo, let's talk about Snoke. Let's talk about the throne room. Amazing fight sequence. But for me, this is where the fan expectations starts hurting the movie. You know, we, as fans, we theorize, we made theory videos on our channel, you know, and it's like we make things more important than they need to be. You know, we have way more Snoke in these first 2 movies than we ever had with the Emperor in the original trilogy. And because of that, everybody's like, oh, he must be important. He must be this. And in the end game, it's just really to really set Kylo on this darker path. And, you know, I love what they do with Snoke to propel Kylo to making him from a Vader fanboy in The Force Awakens to surpassing Vader, to surpassing Snoke, to become what Vader could never become, which is like the Emperor. He is the supreme leader now. He is in charge of everything, and he is going to run the First Order, which I thought that was amazing. That it's like, all right, you know, that's something we haven't seen in Star Wars. If it did what you wanted, you know, where the Snoke throne room thing was like at the end, and I just feel like that would have been too derivative of like Return of the Jedi. And I think this movie has more parallels to Return of the Jedi than like The Empire Strikes Back. Like, everybody thought this movie would be like an Empire Strikes Back like repeat, but I think what this does for, you know, Luke and Rey, you know, is same with Luke and Rey's relationship. It kind of sets them apart where they're on their own. You know, they don't have those people like over their shoulders for 9, which is something we haven't seen before. And that fight scene with them is very awesome. And very also weird because I saw all the Reylo people, you know, the people that want them to like, you know, get together. They're just like, oh my gosh, that scene was like them having sex. And I'm like, what? Where are you getting that from?
The internet.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not against what happened. I just don't think both of those deaths carried any weight. You know, fan expectations or not, they're only there because we get excited for seeing what is going to further the story. And to have nothing be behind the death of Snoke. Killing him was perfect, don't get me wrong. But there needed to be more from Snoke and Kylo's relationship, I think. We only get one really conversation out of it. And not just that, but just Snoke in general with how he is, because killing Snoke should have been a bigger thing other than just killing your superior. It should have been like he killed like this dude, like the Supreme Commander. He was the top dog, you know. And we only know he's the top dog because we're told he's the top dog. Yeah. And Kylo reports to him, but killing him, especially the way he did, it was like, really, you're not going to notice? You're this all-powerful Force user, and you're not going to notice the lightsaber turning right there?
That's where I think Kylo surpasses him. That's like Kylo is able to mask his emotions, because he says like, I know what's in my apprentice's head. I know at all times. And, you know, because Kylo mirrors everything to what Snoke is saying, but he masks it, and that's where he surpasses it, I think, in my mind.
Can you see how that's kind of a jump, though? Just a little bit?
Not really. I think Ben Solo has always been super powerful, and I think we everything about Snoke has always been blown out of proportion. Like, we thought he was Darth Plagueis, you know, we thought he was some ancient Sith Lord, we thought he was freaking Tarkin coming back, you know, and in the end, he's just a big bad, and that's it, and that's all he needed to be in the story, and just another obstacle for Kylo to surpass. I don't think it's a jump. I just think it's what the Emperor says, you know, and what Rey says to him, like, your pride will be your downfall. And he, you know, when he says, I cannot be betrayed, I'm like, all right, here it comes, you know. Right. I don't. That's fine. I don't know what could have been done more for, like, if like he's like, I am Darth Plagueis, and then he like stabs him. Like, I think that would have made me more mad and brought me more over to your side. And then it's like, oh, I wish I would have gotten more from him. But like, since like Snoke's just Snoke, it's like, all right, cool, we're beyond that now. Right. You know. Right. So let's talk about the one place I had a nitpick in. I like Finn in this movie, and I like Rose. I think Finn was a little underused. I really like the character Rose, and I think that might also be because I really have grown to like Kelly Marie Tran as an actress. I really like kind of her backstory of where she came from. You know, she was working an office job, you know, got a call in from Star Wars saying you got the part, and then like had to go back to working an office job and like not tell anybody for like 3 months. I'm like, that's, you know, awesome. But Canto Bight for me, like whenever it comes on screen, that's where I'm like, this feels too earthly. Like the whole casino, like I was so excited. I'm like, we're gonna see a casino in the Star Wars universe is gonna be really different, you know. And I'm like, this just looks like Las Vegas with aliens. I don't know. That was, and like because of like the whole survival aspect of the movie, they had to like really rush through it, which I get because, you know, everything's time sensitive in this movie. But for me, that's where this movie kind of like dipped like into that, like, all right, this is like not the unfamiliar, like you're saying, like it didn't feel like Star Wars. It was more like, this feels too familiar, like earthly for me. On Canto Bight, like with the horse races and stuff, I'm just like, it feels, you know, like we see this in the world. So that's where I usually have problems with Star Wars, is when it feels too like familiar.
I don't know. I mean, it's funny that you say that, because Stuckman said the same thing. He said it felt like Earth. Yeah. I didn't really get that at all. I mean, there are a lot of aliens and a lot of humans.
Well,
and
it's not like the aliens. It's like the games they were playing. I'm like, that's roulette, that's blackjack, that's slots.
Right. It was very, you know, I guess the games totally, but they looked more like a Game of Thrones South City than like something out of Star Wars for sure. Like it looked like, you know, Bravos or something. Yeah, right. Know? And it just it was very odd. I understand. I guess, I mean, Rose and Finn doing something, that's okay. Like that's fine. You know, story. We get that. They got to go find a hacker, which after John's talking about it, yeah, I think that'd be a cool thing too, where to make her the hacker and not have to like go find someone that apparently have to like travel, you know, all the way here just to find a guy who can hack a computer to like crack the shields. I don't know. It's kind of a stretch. It was like, you find this guy just so we can poke a hole in the shields and get through. And that's where you get Benicio del Toro, which I didn't mind his character. It's like, okay, cool. He's a, you know, highest bidder.
That's where
type of guy. And
that's where I was like, that's where I was disappointed a little bit with, just because I'm a huge Benicio del Toro fan. Like, The Usual Suspects is like my second favorite movie of all time behind Star Wars. So I was just like, I was expecting his character to be something else, and this is where like that fan speculation stuff comes in, and it's like, all right, no, he's just, you know, this, and he's just DJ, and I'm like, all right. Rian Johnson said like, when we see the movie, we'd know why he's called DJ, and I'm like, I have no idea why he's called DJ. Like, I'm like, why did they nickname him DJ? I don't know. Like, he's not DJ. He's a stutterer. Like, if anything, you know, like, I don't know. That was just like a little like behind the scenes thing. I'm like, I don't really recall why.
I had no idea he was in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, and it
was like, oh, it's Benicio del Toro,
right?
Okay,
and he's good in the part he's in. I just like, you know, it's weird that he's supposed to have this huge presence, and it's just like, you know, people were speculating he was like a Sith Lord or something. Like, it's like, no. So
see, that's funny now, because I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, and
I kind of liked it. The whole like, oh yeah, I'm in the cell with you, and you know, I can help you guys leave.
Yeah,
and kind of just leaves. That whole bit was okay to me. The whole like save the animals was kind of out there, but then when he showed up in the ship with BB-8, I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah,
you know, I'm cool with, you know, new characters like that, and it felt smooth enough. But then at the end where he's trying to hack it did seem, thinking back on it did seem very out of place. Like, it almost like a different thing going on, you know, like it didn't blend as much as you would have hoped it to, the whole Finn and Rose thing. And I can see where people are coming from with that for sure.
Yeah, I think with just the Canto Bight stuff, it was just like you said, it just felt like out of place, and it's like, all right, they have to jump to this system. It just felt like a stretch, like story-wise, like with this whole survival movie, that they'd have time to like go do this for a couple hours. Like,
you maybe remember that.
Yeah,
because they're like trying to like, they don't have fuel to run away, but we have time to send them on a mission, and we're just gonna coast it because we're somehow out of their range. That was a little convenient.
Well, that's always been kind of what I've understood about like the Rebel ships and stuff from like all the diagrams and stuff. They always say like the Empire stuff is more heavily guarded and stuff, but the Rebels is faster and lighter and can go, you know, like that felt natural to me. I can see where people are like, oh, okay, but I don't know. And that was just a cool visual, like when we kept cutting back to like, you know, the bombardment, you know, hitting the shields and stuff. I liked that. But yeah, I really liked the second part of Finn and Rose and DJ's like storyline with them like sneaking on like the Star Destroyer. That felt very Star Wars to me. The Canto Bight stuff felt a little like out of place. But with that, let's go to Vice Admiral Holdo and Poe. I know you have a very different opinion of this stuff than I do with Poe. Going into this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't care, really. He wasn't like, I don't know. He wasn't like Han for me when he leaves, you know, or comes back. He wasn't like Luke. I don't know what he was. He just kind of was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, you got to learn to not, you know, be so rambunctious and have to blow up everything. Okay, cool. But what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And won't you tell us anything? And that was pretty much the entirety of that. And it's like, I get they're trying to be like, well, patience, and you know, you can't just go blow up everything. I understand that that's like, I guess, his arc, but it didn't. I don't know, like maybe if he felt a little more out of killing everybody with that bomber mission, it would have been a little more impactful if he actually like felt a little bit, because I feel like he just brushed it off, to be honest. He was like, oh yeah, I guess you're right.
I can see that side. I could totally see that.
Then Leia taking him like that, like kind of like being the mentor. I like it. I like that. Yeah. I wish there was a little more of that motherly part of it. Yeah. I don't know. Carrie was much better in this, for sure. Oh, yeah. She just was like, she just phoned it in on Force Awakens, but this one she seemed more like intuitive on what she was trying to do. And I like the idea for taking Poe under her wing like that, but I guess just because Poe was so like defiant, which I guess that's the whole point, is that he is that way. It just came off kind of annoying sometimes, especially with the whole like Haldo thing, and her character too. It was just kind of odd because it's like, oh, we have this great war general or whatever, and you know, yeah, she can look like, you know, amazing. Good job, Laura Dern, man. But she just didn't come off like that. She came off like a Real Housewives of Orange County, you know, kind of way. And I don't know. It was just weird. Again, weird. I'm not going to be like, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. It was just weird.
You're not on the fanboys like, that was worse than the Phantom Menace. Disney is killing Star Wars.
No, see, that's the thing. I'm not like an internet elitist. You know, where it's like, and that's what's great. At least, I don't know. See, that's what I want to try and convey with people is we're very like average consumers, and I think that's the best people to watch, because you get wrapped up in the hate, and it's like, well, genuinely, how did you feel about the movie? And that's what I'm really trying to do with this. And I purposely went in as dry as I could with this movie, because I knew that you would be like, dude, this is like Star Wars. And I'm not saying you're like sugarcoating everything. I'm just saying, like, I wanted to come in with a very dry, how's the movie kind of thing. And that was just my genuine feelings on it, where it was just kind of weird. I felt the same with Force Awakens. You know, there were little parts. I think I liked Force Awakens a little better, just simply, and I was trying to think about it, like, what, like, I try and pinpoint what is it about these movies, and I think it's simply just direction. And I think Abrams catches my eye a little better than the way Ryan did, except for his action scenes. His action scenes are fantastic. Oh yeah. But you know, we were talking about like David Fincher, how he like captures your eyes, you know, and the way direction goes is how it, like, I guess that's as big a part of tone as it is with, you know, anything else. And that's kind of this, it's like this underlying heartbeat, you know, with every movie. And that's, I think, a big thing with how it was weird for me. Now what side of the movie he did? Was it Jumper? Looper. That was the one with
Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
Bruce Willis, right?
Bruce Willis, yeah.
See, I loved that movie. Yeah. And it's like, I really did. I genuinely liked it. And I think the direction, like, I felt that heartbeat, and I understood that. With this movie, it was like, I don't know. It was just it was weird for me. It was kind of awkward. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I get where you're coming from. And like, yeah, I'm a huge like Star Wars guy. Like, you know, like if we had this switched and like, say like the Lord of the Rings were coming out, you know, you'd probably be on that Lord of the Rings side, and I'd be on the average, like, okay, why didn't they just take the
Game
Eagles?
of Thrones is better.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Game of Thrones is better. Why didn't they take the Eagles to drop the ring in the volcano? Blah blah blah. You know, like
how dare you? How dare you?
You know, that's right. You know, but that's where we're different, and that's cool. Like I love the Poe Holdo stuff. I have like right behind me here, like the book Leia. Not to be the book guy again, but since I am, might as well say, like, Holdo was introduced to Leia when they were friends when they were like 16, and that relationship just kind of came through in the movie. So like Holdo was a little different character in the book. She was like very like out there, very quirky. But I really liked Laura Dern's like interpretation of her. Like I loved like Laura Dern in this movie a lot. I just like her as an actress first off, and I really like the her and Poe's back and forth, just like Laura Dern shutting him down the whole time. I just felt like that was really cool character growth for Poe. But I can see where you're coming from, where it's like like where is this going? And ultimately, I think
he was just a little too like buzzing fly around the face kind of thing, especially when we try to take over the ship. It's like, really, dude, really, you gonna try this right now? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. With those like choices, that's where I see where Rian Johnson said, like, he's like, he wrote, like, when he started writing this movie, he's like, what is like one thing I can challenge every single character with in this movie? And like Poe is like a superior officer that doesn't give him the benefit of the doubt like Leia. Finn, it's like trying to be back in a First Order. Like, I don't know, like a lot of people said there wasn't a lot of character development in these movies, and I'm like, this and The Force Awakens takes place in the span of 2 or 3 days. I tell people, like, how much do you change as a person 2 and 3 days? Like, you can if there's big like moments in your life, but I don't know. I like the Poe Holdo stuff. Who was really good in this movie too is Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billy Lord. She kind of helps Poe out in C-3PO. She's the one with like the blonde hair and the kind of like the half Leia buns in back. Did you catch her?
I didn't notice her.
Okay.
I don't know what she looks like though. I know she was in that show.
Yeah.
Scream Queens.
Yeah, I think Scream Queens.
So I don't know what she looks like. I didn't know it was her. That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember the character, but yeah.
Gotcha. So let's go back to the island and talk about probably one of my favorite scenes. And I know you like this scene as well, as Yoda. Rey's gone. Luke explained everything to her, and she's like, all right, well, Ben's our last hope, which, kind of happens before the Snoke scene. But Yoda burning down the tree, and then gives, I think, one of the all-time best Yoda speeches to Luke in a movie. I just love that speech. What'd you think about that whole scene?
I think it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the story part of it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole I think this comes to execution. Okay. Like just how it went down, how fast it went down. And I guess the back and forth with how Luke's like, okay, I'll teach you. And then like, I'm now like way beyond the Jedi teachings kind of thing. Like it has to end and I've already been convicted in this way. Mm-hmm. And then like, oh, but wait, the text. And then that's when Yoda comes in and kind of reaffirms him. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of like back and forth with that, but I like how Yoda gave Luke closure in that. Yeah. But I think it would have been a little more impactful if Luke showed more affirmation towards them, because it's like if he kind of turned his back on it and then it's like, okay, now he cares about it again and then they're being burned. I don't know.
Well, like they're not being burned. They're not being burned. Did you catch it?
Well, she has them in the drawer, right?
Yeah.
Is that what those were?
Yeah, that's what those were.
I remember seeing them. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I was really confused at like the first showing. I'm like, why is Yoda just cracking up? When he blows Luke out of there. And like the second viewing, I'm like, she has the books. He knows they're not there. And Luke's like all worried about him. It's just Yoda being like classic Yoda. You know, like, oh, Skywalker, you know, how I missed you, like he says. Like, I just love their interaction. The puppet looked weird the first time I saw it. It just, like, the shade of green, I don't know. I have this thing where it's like, I prefer puppets, you know, over CGI, but Yoda, something about that Dagobah set, I think he just looks the best there. I think the lighting looks the best there, and I think you take him out of that, like the Phantom Menace Yoda puppet looked terrible. Like, you know, he had this like weird like 70s stash on, and
he's definitely gone through a lot of look changes.
Yeah, for sure. But
I mean, I'm not gonna complain about it, but I totally agree. He looked really different. Like almost like younger or something.
Yeah, maybe that's the whole, like, you know, he's born with the Force. Maybe he's gaining his younger self, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that could be part of it. But there's that. I love where Yoda leaves that conversation off. Like, they are what we grow, or they become what we grow beyond. And I think that's a good, like, metaphorical thing of, like, where Star Wars is going to. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, you can hold the original trilogy up and say this is Star Wars, but if, like, you never evolve, if you never, like, make it and turn it towards that next generation, that's just gonna die. And then what are you left with? You know, like, what? It's just, we have 3 movies that, you know, everybody's like, oh great, you know, 6 movies. Like, I don't know, I like that. Like, there are a lot of lines in this that were kind of like meta in a way that at first I was like, that's weird, but like, this more viewings, I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. Like, let's go back to Snoke's throne room, you know. And this is where I love this Kylo Ray. Like, they kill Snoke, they kill all the Praetorian guards, and this, I feel like, is just a direct reflection on Revenge of the Sith. Like, when Kylo's just like, all right. And this is where I feel like Ben Solo, like, truly dies, and Kylo Ren just takes him over completely. You know, kind of where, like, Anakin, like, died, and, you know, like, Darth Vader became Vader. I feel like this is the moment where he just broke away from it all, and Rey's just like, don't do it. Because, I mean, like, I felt like in that fight, you know, I'm like, all right, they're gonna redeem him here. They're gonna go full out, and then he just doesn't do it, and I'm like, all right, he becomes the next. He surpasses Vader in that moment,
right?
And then you also have the reveal of Rey's parents, which I've seen a lot of people being upset over online, and that's another one of those things where we speculated endlessly. And I don't even think JJ meant it to be a big mystery like it turned out to be, you know, because I've heard that JJ's answer for whose Rey's parents were was the same as Ryan's. Like, they were both leaning this way. So, you know, it's not like JJ is going to come in at 9 and be like, Kylo was lying, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I heard that was the same, that was consistent through the 2 drafts of, like, the script or whatever. But I don't know, like, leading up to the movie, I was just like, all right, who could Rey's parents be? What would be a satisfying answer? Like, what would make the most sense? And in that moment, I'm just like, they're nobodies. Like, before she said it, I'm like, they can't, like, Kylo can't say, you are the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, join me at my side, you know? It's like, I don't know, that it hit me like right in that moment. I'm like, that was the right choice for me. What'd you think about it?
I don't have a problem with them being nobodies. I mean, I get the whole, like, Force can be endowed upon anybody. I just again, it's just weight. There's no, like, I don't know, because now literally Rey is coming from nothing, and that doesn't mean, like, you know, nothing isn't also, like, just her turmoil, her, like, you know, all it is I've had something inside of me. I don't know, we haven't had, like, a big event that has, you know, shaped her. And that's what I was hoping her parents thing would be. Not like it has to be a certain thing, but maybe, like, find out they were killed, or find out who they were and they were like terrible or something like that, or I don't know, something to add a little bit of anything to her.
I mean, they kind of were terrible though. Like they sold her, they were dead. You know, like Kylo says, you know, they sold them for drinking money. You know,
again, I mean, Kylo just said it though, and we have to just take it as what he said. I just wanted to.
Would you like wanted a flashback in that moment, like?
No, not in that moment, but something to lead up to anything that would have a little bit more beyond Rey just being who she is. And I think Rey is just so weak compared to Kylo in that sense. Because now, I mean, Kylo is everything. He's got the whole backstory. He's got the whole character development and all that, where Rey's kind of just left in the dust right now when it comes to where she came from, what she's learned, because she hasn't learned much of anything other than just by being incredible in Force Awakens and then going to learn from Luke, and she doesn't really learn much, but yet she's still advancing somehow. And if they want to make it like, oh, well, because she's really strong in the Force. Okay, well, then, like, show me something, you know? Like, show me some type of thing that's happening within her to make her better. I don't know. And
I think they did show that with, like, the ground cracking. I mean, that if you show her, like, being more powerful, then you're running up against, like, all right, do you want to, like, compare midichlorian accounts? You know, like I just feel like you can't do that. You can't bring like the quantitative thing back in the Force, because that just undercuts like the message, like the Force can be with anybody. It's just like you have to tap in. I don't know. I've never had a problem with Rey being really powerful. I thought like for sure I thought they would explain it more in this movie, and they really don't. They just kind of like she is powerful. She is what she is. You know, she's the opposite of, you know, Ben, and I'll agree that Ben has like the better backstory at this point. It's kind of like he's the antithesis to Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy. Like Ben is like that in this trilogy, but just like on the dark side, which is cool because honestly, I think Ben Solo Kylo Ren is probably one of the best developed movie villains we've had in a long time. I mean, in this age of like superhero movies where we get like, oh, I'm the bad guy and I'm gonna distinguish, you know, everything with my fist thing, or, you know, I'm gonna belly dance in Suicide Squad and fire will rain from the sky. You know, it's like, I just think he's like you said, he is a very developed villain, which I like. I don't know, I've never had a problem with Rey's like parentage or like any of that being from nothing. I think that enhances it a little more. But I can see your side of it too, where, you know, that is going to leave a lot of people disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't enhance anything, and it's not about like her being strong. I have no problem with that. If anything, there needs to be more lashing out of power. You know, yeah, she broke the rock, but I'm talking about in the sense of training within the Force. Mm-hmm. She can learn to do these things, or she didn't even learn. She can do these things and never earned how to do these things that we've come to, you know, learn throughout all the other movies. And it's like, it just is. And we're supposed to expect it to be that way, where we have Kylo, where it's like, he's trying everything he can to become better. And he does kill his dad. He does do all these things where really the only sense of progression or is something that we hear that Rey is just all powerful is simply because she is the mirror of Kylo. Mm-hmm. And it's like, but that's it. That's all we hear from it. And it's just not enough for me. I don't know. It's just so like take it at face value, and it needs to be earned, and it's just not. She's just great. And it's not about midichlorians. It's not about power. It's not about any of that. It's that she's just automatically badass. And I don't know. There needs to be something out of it. There needs to be cost. There needs to be, you know, something.
If her parents were revealed as like a Kenobi descendant or a Skywalker, would that have like changed your mind?
I mean, I'm not.
It's more just about the training and everything.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not. It's not like 100% one way or the other. So that to me is like you're getting into, you know, well, you're getting into like, all the web theories and all that. It's not that. I don't mind it. It's just execution again. Like there's no Jeff Goldblum, Jurassic Park. He's like, you didn't earn it for yourselves. You just kind of went with it. And it's like, I don't know. She needs to learn these things out of consequence and out of like, like maybe if she did something with the Force that killed someone she loved or did something, you know what I mean? Like something where she's, I need to like control this, or I need to figure this out, you know? And there's just none of those parts that made Rey a deeper character. Yeah. And she just is. And I guess that's the biggest thing. And it's like, I want her to be this just as conflicted character as Kylo, but she's just not. I mean, yeah, if she's trying, to best him and wants to find her place, that's great, but it's just not nearly enough compared to what Kylo's doing. And I think just to make it better, it should be equal in that. She should be coming from the other spectrum and have this big clash at the end, And it's not about her parents. It's not about, it's just a culmination of everything. It goes back to how we didn't see much from Luke, because ultimately what we want to see from Luke is to benefit Rey. And we just don't see any of it, or very little of it. And that's my biggest gripe, especially building up to be, this big showdown, with Rey and Kylo. Kylo's primed. Yeah, I think what they did with him was great. Just with her, it's harder to swallow it, other than she can just do these things,
Gotcha. Okay. Well, then let's start to wrap things up here. Let's cut to the end of the movie.
Cut to what?
Like more the end of the movie, third act here.
Yeah.
Going to Battle of Crate, which I thought was really well done. The thing I wish
so cool playing Battlefront now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
those are awesome. I wish we saw a little more from the ski speeders.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. Like you don't never see them fire. It's just like, are they just like out there zooming around? Like, that was like my one complaint about the battle.
Battlefront. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like being able to see them shoot and all that. I guess they really didn't serve a purpose, huh? Other than just distracting them. But,
yeah.
I didn't really think about that. Yeah.
But then we get, there's the battle. I thought in that moment Finn was going to die when he's charging the speeder.
It should have happened.
It would have made sense in this movie where there's so many things that are unexpected. Like that would have made sense. The Rose kiss at when she saves him, that was a little like, you talked about things being unearned. I felt like that was like, I always bought their chemistry, but like, it was always more her like fangirling over him. So like in that moment, I guess it's like, like if there's an explosion in the background, she just kisses him. Like, I guess that kind of makes sense.
In that moment, she just turned creepy.
Right. But I don't know. I thought Finn was going to go out. But then we get the reunion scene that we didn't get in The Force Awakens, which I thought that was really well done. And I love John Williams starting to play my favorite theme in Star Wars is the Luke and Leia theme from Star Wars Episode 6. And when that started playing, I was just like, oh, that hit me right in the feels there.
Yep.
But everybody else has said no, but did he look a little CGI in the face in that scene to you? With him and Leia?
I didn't notice it.
Okay, maybe
obviously,
I'm the only one.
Changed, but
yeah, they obviously made him look younger with the beard and everything, and he didn't look like CGI at all in the fight. But like something about the lighting, every time I watch that like scene, I'm just like, there's something like, did they de-age him? Like I don't know. It must be the lighting for me.
Yeah, I mean, color correction can do that too with a lot of these. Like sometimes it tricks our eyes into seeing how brilliant something looks, where that's usually, associated with CGI. But yeah.
But then we have Luke Skywalker basically doing what he said he couldn't do, is just go out and face down the whole first order. This, like that, we were all just like in the theater, everybody that was watching the movie with me, we were just all geeking out. Like this was like, that's, the Luke we wanted to see. And that scene, especially when Kylo comes down to face him, has so much more rewatchability, because then you start noticing the little things of what eventually is happening, that he is force projecting himself there.
Right. The salt.
Yeah. The salt. I mean, he has the blue lightsaber that was cracked in half. All that stuff was awesome. And, eventually I kind of like that scene because their blades never cross. It feels like very much like the Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi that throws his lightsaber away. It's like, I'm going to do this a different way. Which I thought that was like you said, the return of old Luke. That was the Luke Skywalker we knew from Return of the Jedi coming back. And I just love the conversation back and forth between them, like on that salt flat. Like that scene, and just the way it was shot, like it just looked like an old Western, like the sun setting, they're just facing each other off. Like, I'm like, I just want a painting of these two, like, lightsabers drawn, looking at each other in my room.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool.
How did you react when like you like figured out like he wasn't there?
I'm kind of indifferent on it. I mean, I think I would have preferred him actually being there. The problem is I don't think there was a physical way for him to actually be there because of what happened. Rey's just like, fine, screw you, and left.
Yeah.
And so we see his X-Wing at the bottom. I just think it would have been a little more poetic to have him actually be there and then do a whole Obi-Wan thing and get strike down or stabbed or something. And then as he's dying, he sees the suns and becomes one with the Force. It just seemed like that would have been more like, dude, instead of, him projecting
I have
himself.
I have a theory on this. When Rey and Kylo have their connection like that, and Rey shoots Kylo, and he obviously feels the pain. I think that why Luke died is he took all those blaster bolts, and he took the lightsaber. And like, it's not like actually being there, but I think it caused him like extreme pain. I think he took all the barrage of that. And I think he took like Kylo's, saber to the heart and through the stomach. Like, that's my theory, because that it would stay consistent of what this new Force power does in the film.
Okay.
So
I think it's different. We're getting into like logistics because it's like, which Force ability is this? Because them communicating with each other might be something different than, astral projection or whatever Luke was doing.
Well,
but
Kylo also says in the beginning, like Rey couldn't be doing this because it would kill her. Like, that was a line I caught the third time. Like, he's like, you're not doing this, it would kill you. I'm like, okay, so this takes extreme amount of like Force ability to do that.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know. Those were just little things I picked up on,
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, him being so, I'm not against it. What happened? I mean, I would have preferred him to be there, but the fact that he had his moment, I guess, on the island and saw the suns, that was really cool.
Yeah.
It's just kind of tough to swallow because it's like, all right, I guess that's it. But obviously we'll see Force Ghost. I hope we get a lot of Force Ghost in episode 9.
I think you will.
There has to be the ringleaders when it comes to getting Rey to become this thing, and that's really going to be the big saving factors with Rey's character, is getting Yoda and getting Luke and whoever else to really try and get her to come together in that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, let's talk about episode 9 while we're wrapping things up here. Like, I think that is, like you said, I think that's going to be the big focus, and I think we are going to get a lot more Force Ghost Luke just because what happened to Leia. They said episode 9 was going to be Leia's movie, that obviously can't be the case anymore. How much time do you want to pass? Because I'm like, now I'm like, dude, like, you know, these movies, first two have took like such short time out of the timeline, like jump 10 years, like, you know, between like, you know, like episode 1 and 2 did, like, you know, give us, you know, I think that would be easier also to explain Leia's death, you know, if it's like 10 years in the future.
Yeah. John says they're going to put in a book. Everything that's missing from the movie always ends up in a book.
That is very true.
I do hope there's a lot of time. I hope they don't use it as an excuse to like fill in all these blanks that were left. I want to see some building happen so we can care.
Yeah.
But I definitely want some time to pass. I want like, it would be cool to see Rey go on this self-discovery thing like Luke did with going to Dagobah, and, you know, really, because it's like, okay, well, no one can help me, I just need to help myself, I guess. And that's where she can go and challenge herself, and that's when, you know, they can show up as Force Ghosts or whatever and try and give her some answers. And same thing with Kylo, where now he's top dog in the galaxy. We're gonna see that come into play. I hope we get a little more backlash from Hux, like see, you know, more between them two, because I don't know, there needs to be something. I guess Kylo could just kill him, but it's like and it sucks because we've gotten to that point because we just don't. Kylo killed Snoke, and at the end he was obviously in charge. I want to see Hux try and be a little, if Hux is going to be a character, let's try and have him be a little more of a threat to Kylo, you know, have him be more developed, and maybe try and either be sneaky about it or be upfront in Kylo's face, like, hey, this is my thing, you're taking over, you know, but have something be like where Kylo can't just get rid of him, you know? I don't know, something like that, because then it's like, why is he even in there in the first place? Which, it's funny, John said you should have swapped Hux and the Juggernaut, the Dreadnought captain. That would have been a much better movie.
I love that captain. Since we kind of brushed over it, is Phasma dead this time for sure? Because that was a waste. Like, I'm like,
it was, dude. I secretly really wanted her to take off the helmet. Or did you hope she was gonna take out the helmet? Oh
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like they said she was gonna have more to do, and then it's like it's just same as Force Awakens. Like, you know, I think it's like, don't build up this character if you know, and that's part of like on the fans too, because it's, you know, it's Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones. Like, originally I heard that Benedict Cumberbatch was supposed to play that role. I'm like, oh god, that would have really been a waste, you know. But it just, at the end, I'm like, it was so unsatisfying.
It is a waste. Like, that whole, there could be so much more between her and Finn. It's like they fight, and it's like, we just don't care. All we know is that she was in charge, but there's no, like, we didn't see any, you know,
she should have been hunting him down the whole movie. Like, she should have been like on his trail through Canto Bight. Like, that would, and that's what I thought was going to happen. But it's like, you know,
like
it's
the
like
stormtrooper that defied me kind of thing. You know, like, have it be personal, and we just get sir, and you know, just so basic. It's so weird. I mean, it was just it was total waste for sure. She could have been so cool. I guess I heard they're trying to make her like Boba Fett, but
they definitely did make her like that. Boba Fett, like, you know, like,
in the sense of
importance. Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Yeah,
she could
come back. I don't know.
I hope not. I think she's done.
Yeah,
I think
at this point it'd be a running joke.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Have her show up for a minute and then like have her just officially die. By, like, falling or being eaten by a sand monster.
Yeah, just commit to the Boba Fett thing. Go back to Tatooine. And
that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to 9. I'm really looking to, like, I think it's going to be interesting to see what JJ does with it, because JJ's never been a closer. He's never like you know, he always start things. He's never really like seen things through like with TV shows and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. You know, I hope, you know, like you said, I hope 10 years has passed, you know, Rey's training Broom Kid or something, you know, and they go on the adventure. I would like to see like, it would be cool. Like I still want to see Rey challenge, like you said, but at the same time, it would be cool if Rey's got a band of Jedi that she's trained and Kylo has a band of like, you know, Knights of Ren or whatever that he's trained. And there's an all out like Jedi battle. Cause I feel like we haven't really seen that yet. And that would be really cool if it was just like lightsaber on lightsaber combat, like on the battlefield. I just think that would be an awesome way to like end this whole thing. If 9 is the ending.
I don't think she should train, because then that's like a big jump, because that means like she's now a master and she can train. Not in the sense of like it has to be structured, but I think it'd be cool if, you know, if we're going to go that route where the Force is out there endowing all these people, like that she will like come across hiding or rogue Force users and maybe find another big, you know, Force user that's older or something, and maybe come together and do something like that. Like I don't think it can be ignored, you know, and have no other people use the Force after doing that ending scene. There's got to be something, like they're going to meet other people that can use it, and unless it's a build up for his new trilogy, which people have speculated. That
is a good point. I was one of those guys. I was like, it's going to be an Old Republic trilogy, but this movie, it really felt like more of a conclusion, a start of something new. Like it's very weird how like you're like, oh man, there's like so much they can do in this time period. Because at first one, everybody's like, well, what if it's in the time period, you know, that they're set now in the sequel trilogy? And I'm like, there's just no, like, where would they go with it? Like, I don't want to see any other characters. But now, like, it's like, all right, like, show me the Broom Kid trilogy. I don't care. Like, you know, like, I'm ready for that. You know, it does open up a lot of windows for that time period. You know, and then you could have Daisy Ridley come in as Rey and, you know, build that up. But I don't think, especially with his new trilogy being, you know, set in time, you know, it will come out after 9 had already got done. That's unless, you know, it's Rey's Jedi training trilogy, you know, like, you know, it's her actually building up the Jedi Order again. And then, you know, way down the line, we get 10, 11, 12. That could be interesting. You know,
it's definitely potential. And I think it's interesting that you say it is kind of there's more of a setup than a middle movie, which is, I guess, kind of an odd place. And I guess that's why it feels odd, but maybe that is more of what he was doing that we realize.
Yeah. I mean,
setting up a new thing.
There's that. And, you know, it's one of those things, like, especially me, you know, you're a little older than me, but like we always just popped in the next DVD, you know, we always popped in the next VHS. We had the whole story in front of us. You know, we don't know where 9's going, you know, maybe 9 will make this, you know, better. I think 8 makes Force Awakens more interesting. I like going back. It's like, all right, this means that. Like some people have said it's like it renders Force Awakens useless, and I don't think that at all. But you know, once we have the whole story, you know, who knows, you know, maybe JJ's going to pull some crazy stuff in 9, you know, we don't know. So it's just one of those things we need to, you know, wait and see and speculate. I'm probably not going to speculate as a hard, you know, this turnaround, you know, because it's like, all right, you know, none of my Snoke theories are right. I like the guy that was selling your Snoke theory sucks is now selling the t-shirts that your Snoke theory sucked, like past tense. I'm like, that's pretty funny. But any final thoughts as we're closing up here?
I don't think so. I mean, I've pretty much ragged on it the entire time, which I can say the action scenes are really good. I liked the lightsaber battles for sure. Or I thought there were going to be more. It's really just, you know, Kylo and Rey. But that was a cool fight scene, and the air battles were great. The Battle of Crate was great. I can see a lot of the merits of the story of what they were going for. Again, it was just execution, and maybe like maybe have chosen the words a little differently and gone about certain things differently, and it would have been a little easier for me to swallow.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I mean, overall, it was enjoyable. For sure, the second half more than the first, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say this is a terrible movie, because it's not.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like trying to compare it to the original trilogies, it's just tough, because we do love these characters and we do know these characters, and the vast amount of building of, you know, their stories and their characters and their, you know, all the consequences and things that they've been through. We're coming in with that, and I get it's harder to swallow these kind of movies that are like, yeah, you know, this isn't about that, and it's like, okay, it's not what we want, but I don't know, it was just different, and I don't think people should hate on it like they are, but I can see where they're coming from totally. It's just it's a different movie for sure. I don't think it was like, you know, reinventing the wheel, but it was different in the sense of it didn't play it safe.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely took risks. It was a bold step for everything. And I mean, I think right now it's probably my like second favorite. I really like this movie. Like, I think it's still behind Empire. I don't think anything's topped that yet. I'll put it ahead of New Hope and Jedi though. Ahead of The Force Awakens for me.
You put it ahead of New Hope?
Ahead of New Hope, yeah. I think like it's Empire, Last Jedi, New Hope, and then, you know, the rest. Just for me. Like, I think this movie is going to be one of those where like Empire wasn't the masterpiece when it came out. Like, everybody was debating it like we are now. You know, I think this movie's going to age really well. But we'll see, you know. We'll see how it goes. You know, we got 2 years till 9, you know, and we got Solo in between there, which I'm still like, you know, whatever.
2 years.
Yeah, till 9.
I thought
what? Like 3 years?
Isn't it 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
Oh, you're like breaking up. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. And Solo comes out in 6 months, which is interesting. So we got that to look forward to.
Is that the 2018 release?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not gonna have a Christmas Star Wars movie. So that's gonna be weird. But I think Disney has Mary Poppins Returns, which I'm very much excited about, probably more than I should be. So. Emily Blunt, right? Yeah. Yeah, the full metal bitch from Edge of Tomorrow is Mary Poppins. So, yeah, off topic. So, all right, guys,
close this baby up.
Yeah, all right. That's our spoiler review of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. You know, full what we thought. You know, comment below on what you guys thought of the movie. You know, it's one of those ones that's going to be debated for a long time, and. Make sure to like and follow Rogue Reviews, subscribe if you want to see more of these awesome content. You know, me and Evan really like doing these back and forth vids, so we're probably going to do more of these. And it's just a good way to keep, you know, everything going. So I guess we'll see you guys next time.